Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater. Today I'd like to introduce you to a brand new amplifier from Quilter, the Overdrive 202. Now this is a very versatile amplifier. It actually has two channels. You can foot switch between those channels. The gain channel is a built-in limiter that allows you to dial in some sag to kind of smooth out the overdrive. Then we also have a clean channel. We have an overall 3-band EQ, master volume, plus a ton of nice features built in. Let's get started checking it out. One of the great things about the Quilter amplifiers is they offer a lot of features, great tone and high power, but in a super compact package. I mean, the amplifier is absolutely tiny. You could throw it into a gig bag, and it weighs just 4 pounds. I've got it paired with a 1x12 Quilter cabinet here. This is a Celestion speaker, and it comes in at just 19.5 pounds. So when you mount the amplifier into the back of the speaker, which you can do as an option, you have a total package of 23.5 pounds. Very lightweight, especially considering the amount of power and the features and the tone that Quilter has packed into this amplifier. Let's take a tour and check out what this amplifier can do. As I mentioned, it's a 2-channel amplifier. We'll start with the clean channel, which is here in the center. I've got a gain control and 3-band EQ, bass, mid, and treble. Now that same EQ applies to both the clean and the overdrive channels. We've got plenty of clean headroom here, even with a humbucker-equipped guitar. I'm playing a PRS Custom 24 today. And the other cool thing about this is that we have a 3-position voicing switch. And this allows us to dial in a flat sound, one with more of a mid emphasis or a little bit more presence, and one that has a more scooped mid-range, more like an American clean type tone. And again, you can apply that switch to both channels. So let's check it out. We'll start with the voice switch in position 1. I'm going to set my tone controls at 12 o'clock, which basically takes them out of the circuit. We have plus 10 dB going up and minus 10 dB going down, so we have a lot of tone shaping control here. We'll begin with my neck pickup, and it's going to give us a nice round but neutral tone. If I move the voicing switch to position 2, we get a bit more presence out of the sound. A little bit more top end, a little bit more sparkle, a little bit more harmonic content. Now if we go to voicing position 3, we'll scoop out that mid-range. Nice sparkle on the top end, nice round bottom end, and nice open articulate mid-range. So we have 3 very different voicings here. That neutral flat setting, more of a bell-like presence setting, and then that scooped American clean tone. And keep in mind, this is before we've even touched the tone controls. Now we can dial up the bass, we can dial up the treble, we can scoop the mid-range, so we have a lot of shaping there as well. We also have built-in reverb that's designed to emulate a spring reverb. It's a great sounding reverb that really sits nicely behind whatever you're playing. Now we'll put our voicing switch back to position 1 and switch over to the overdrive channel. I'm going to leave the tone controls set to 12 o'clock for that neutral position again. Now we'll go to voicing position 2. That boost in the presence in the upper mid-range really brings out that harmonic content in the top. Now we'll go to voicing position 3. You can hear the mid-range really opens up and we get all that sparkle back on top and still a solid bottom end out of it. We have a ton of gain and sustain here on tap. I'm set to about 3 o'clock, but if I push the gain all the way up, and let's go back to our voicing position 2. Even at the very reasonable volume I'm playing at, we get almost infinite sustain, and it drops easily into feedback. Now, a cool feature in the gain channel is that we have a built-in limiter, and that's controllable by a foot switch. Now the limiter can be used to smooth out the overdrive a bit, give it a little bit more of a singing tone, or you can use it to really clamp down on the transients and to give it much more of a sag, like more of a vintage amplifier. I've got it set to about 9 o'clock, which is just going to smooth out the peaks for us, give us a little more sustain and fatten the tone up a little bit. So here's without the limiter. And here's with the limiter. It's not a dramatic effect at this point, but it's fattening up the tone a bit, adding a bit of singing sustain, and I can feel it as a player. It sort of softens the attack a bit. Now we'll turn it up to 12 o'clock. It'll ring just about forever on that setting, and you can hear it's really pulling back on those transients, very much like a vintage amplifier. In addition to the 2 channels and the 3 different voicings, we've got some great features built into this amp as well. Quilter very clearly thought it out for a live player. Beginning on my far right, we have the input jack for the guitar. Now this can also accept a keyboard input as well, so it's very versatile. Next to that, we have an effects loop, an effects send, and an effects return. In this case, keeping with our compact theme, I've got a TC Electronic Hall of Fame Mini plugged in just to give me a little bit of delay. Now the effects return can also be used to bring in signals. So if you want to play along with backing tracks, for example, or route a drum machine or a metronome in, you can bring that in through the effects return, and it'll go back out through the amplifier. Next up, we have a signal out jack, and it gives us some extra versatility from the amplifier. It's controlled by this switch next to it. Now when we're in the pre-line position of the switch, the signal out is a balanced line output on TRS 1/4 inch. And it has speaker emulation, so you could feed this straight into a front of house console, or you could route it into your audio interface in the studio. When you're using it as a line output, the signal is tapped out before the master volume control. So if you're playing on stage, you can set the master volume control wherever you need it to be for your volume on stage, and you aren't changing the level it's feeding out to the front of house console. Very cool feature. When we move the switch to the post H-phone position, now it becomes a headphone output, and the volume is controlled by the master output. Speaking of the master volume control, this is a unique design in that it's actually controlling the power output from the amplifier. When we turn that control all the way up, we're getting a full 200 watts of power and maximum headroom for maximum clean tone. When we turn that control down, we're reducing the wattage that's coming out of the amplifier and simultaneously reducing the amount of headroom. This is especially useful when we go to the clean channel because we can crank the gain up on that clean channel and get a nice crunch out of it. Let me show you what I mean. I've turned down the master volume control a bit, and I'll bring up the gain control in the clean channel. So here's our clean setting. If we bring that to 12 o'clock, you can hear you're starting to get a nice break up there. If we crank that up to about 3 o'clock, and all the way up, it's a very different voice than the overdrive channel. So this allows you to set up, say, a crunch rhythm tone and still have your saturated lead tone in the overdrive channel. Again, increasing the versatility of the amplifier. The other nice thing about this is if we dial this back a bit, say we'll set it to about 2 o'clock, nice crunchy rhythm tone, we can dial the volume back on the guitar and it'll clean up nicely. If you're looking for a super lightweight, compact amplifier that can cover a ton of ground from clean jazz tones to twangy country tones to crunchy rhythm tones to saturated lead tones, you definitely want to check out the Overdrive 202. 2 channels, foot switchable limiter for the overdrive channel, foot switchable built-in reverb, lots of control here, lots of capability, and lots of flexibility for shaping your sound exactly the way you want it. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater. Thanks for watching today. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. For more videos like these, click here or start at sweetwater.com for all your music instrument or pro audio needs.